Live. What's up, comic book fans? Pete here from Comic Books Transformed, where we talk about your favorite adaptations of comics into streaming shows and movies. Star Wars has been around since 1977, and there's been many forms, whether it's video games, comic books, novels, of course, movies, and of course, there's the streaming shows. Brian, today we are here to talk about Ahsoka Episode 3, which is called Time to Fly. Now, we covered the first two episodes last week as well as Blue Beetle. Brian, do you feel like the Ahsoka show is kind of getting better, or do you think it's sort of staying at the same pace, or is it getting worse?
I feel we're on the same pace. I think. I still like the show. I think it's. I haven't had that many problems with it, I guess. I'm still intrigued by a couple things. I think there's one thing that I'm most interested in. Even though I haven't watched much of Clone Wars or Rebels, there's one big thing and that's Marek. It's a lot of fun theories flying around about him. That's kind of like got me really keyed into the show a bit more, I think.
Okay. Yeah, the honest truth, the same thing. Marek has got me interested too. That was revealed to me, like one of the theories was revealed to me last week by a channel called Eckhart's Ladder, which I've referenced before on our channel many times. There's quite a few times I'm probably going to reference Eckhart's Ladder this week because I watched a few of their episodes this week about this episode of Ahsoka. But one of the main theories makes me think of Marek the way that I think of Tron from the movie Tron Legacy. What do you think? Well, do you remember that? I know that like your wife really likes the soundtrack for Tron Legacy. Do you remember?
So do I. Yeah. We got through half of it when we went on the ride recently.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So have you seen the whole thing ever or no?
Yes. Yeah. No, but it was a rewatch, so I don't exactly remember what happens at the end of it, but I assume, yeah.
So okay, all right. So here's spoilers for Tron Legacy and potential spoilers for Ahsoka. But in Tron Legacy, the hero that is Tron, like that's from the computer game world or whatever, gets taken out by the bad guy Clue. When Clue kind of rises to power, he's like this de-aged, weird CGI looking Jeff. The fuck is his last name? Bridges. Wow. Sorry, I just woke up too, by the way. And and so you find out that this cool badass guy Rizzler, who has this awesome theme in the soundtrack, that he's actually Tron, but like sort of controlled by Clue. And I feel like that's what Marek might be. He's kind of like the equivalent of Rinsler.
Yeah, you know what? I actually had forgotten that about Rinsler.
Yeah,
who, by the way, is prominently featured in the materials of the ride. Oh my God, what is the Tron ride called? Forgot. It's the Tron ride. It's really good.
Yes, like Light Cycle or something like that, or
God, I don't remember. It was a good ride. I went on it twice.
Yes. By the way, guys, welcome to the newest episode of Amnesiac White Men. Middle-aged amnesiac white men. What was the name of that? Yes.
Who is that really famous actor?
Yes. Who's that guy that's in like 5 things we've reviewed? Jeff Goldblum? All right, anyway. So, we're on this whole Marek kick. Why don't you hit me with the theories that you've heard?
So, I mean, okay, there's 3 main ones that I'm aware of.
Okay.
One, and this is honestly, I think is the most likely, that Marek is just Marek. That he's just a character, and that's it. Like, he's a new character, and that's it. Maybe that he's some, there is some kind of retcon history he has with someone somewhere, but that to me is probably the most likely scenario, that he is just a new character. But the other 2 theories kind of go into that realm that we call like the Mephisto realm with WandaVision. Yes. And it's like, whoa, this person's Mephisto. No, this is Mephisto. No, Mephisto shows up in this episode.
Yes.
And the first one is that he is Starkiller from the Force Unleashed games.
Yes.
A lot of people seem to think that Marek spoke in this episode. He had like 2 lines. And he said like 3 words, if even that. Yeah. And a lot of people are convinced that is Sam Witwer, who played the character Starkiller in those games. He also voiced Darth Maul in Clone Wars and Rebels, or maybe it was both, maybe it wasn't, I don't know, and amongst other things. So a lot of people are convinced that's him. And Okay, that would be kind of cool. I actually did not play the Force Unleashed games, but I always wanted to. And he's a Starkiller is his last name is Marek, I believe. It's like Galen Marek, I believe it is. And he was trained by Darth Vader, and all this stuff happens. I think that character would probably be too powerful to be this character. So I don't think that is going to be it. If this is Sam Witwer in the role, I don't think we know who's playing it. I don't think it's announced or anything like that. That's still kind of cool. But the theory that has me most interested is that it is actually Ezra Bridger. And this is the theory that really got me thinking about this a lot. So I got this from an article in Games Radar. Who is it written by? I don't know who it's written by. Maybe I'll find out later on. But there's a lot of I read there's a lot of wolf mythology in regarding Ezra and from Dave Filoni's like original, character ideas. He has a strong connection with Loth wolves, and so this is where it gets crazy. Marek is the name of one of King Arthur's knights who was turned into a werewolf by a witch in league with Morgan Le Fay.
That's
Morgan Le Fay, yeah. And we know that Morgan Elsbeth is a witch of Dathomir. That's Morgan Le Fay, so that there. And then if you look at the names of the two people he's partnered with, which is Balin Skoll and Shin Hati or Hati, Skoll and Hati are the names of the children of the Norse god Fenrir, who is a wolf.
Yes.
And that just kind of completes that little wolf circle there. So to me, that there's so much there that I think this would be like really, really cool if it was.
Yes.
And I'm going to be really disappointed when it's not and he's just a regular dude, like an original character. But to me, that would make this so much more exciting. But I don't know how he would have gotten back or anything. But I think it would be a really cool reveal that, Ahsoka is looking for Ezra. And, Hera has too. And so is Sabine. Everyone's looking for him. And they already found him in the first episode. Like, I think that would be amazing.
That's way better than it being Starkiller.
Yeah, honestly. And I think, like, if that's the thing, even as someone who hasn't watched these other shows that precede it, I think that's like a huge hook to me.
Yes. All that wolf shit, I'm just eating that up, man. Because I did hear that story about the knight from the King Arthur and how like they were like a wolf or like a werewolf or whatever. That's real interesting stuff. Yeah. And I know that like even in the image they show that is of the Rebels characters, it's on that mural in the first episode. And there's like a wolf in that image too, right?
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, that's probably one of those Loth wolves that you said he has like a connection to. Yeah, that'd be cool. And that kind of goes along with that thing I was saying before about like Rinsler originally being Tron. It's like one of those heroes that you loved, and now they're a weapon of the enemy.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Yeah. I mean, that makes a lot more sense story-wise than it being Starkiller. Because Starkiller would just be like the sort of random character they're throwing in just to excite the fans.
And again, I think he would be too powerful of a character to be in the position that he's in.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That can actually transition to another character I wanted to talk about today, too. But I think that there's something interesting about the idea of taking characters from new canon and kind of having them fill in the role of characters from old canon. I
know where you're going with this.
Okay. So like Ezra, making him almost be like an equivalent of Starkiller, that'd be kind of interesting. But what would be the most interesting about that would be like, well, why is he evil and who made him that way? Because that would almost allude to the idea that there's somebody even more powerful from wherever they're going to, right? Because the idea is that Ezra and Thrawn have already gone to that other galaxy.
Well, I mean, I think that it's Thrawn is definitely in the other galaxy. Maybe it's possible that Ezra didn't go somehow. I don't know. I think the working theory is that Morgan Elsbeth.
Yeah.
Elsbeth is the one that kind of corrupted him and is controlling him, who is clearly here.
Okay, that's still cool though.
I don't know how. I mean, maybe he did go with Thrawn. I don't know, but I couldn't imagine that you're stuck on a an Imperial ship, and you're like a billion light years away, and you're basically by yourself, and, on a ship with full of Imperial soldiers. Like, that's kind of like a death sentence, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
my only theory is that he didn't go with the ship that Thrawn's on, and he's still here somehow.
Okay. That's interesting. Man, you are really making me want to check out those like 28 episodes or whatever they want us to watch in preparation for this show. Especially like the idea of Morgan Elsbeth being like a night sister and like a witch. Because I'm sure that those episodes include episodes of like Clone Wars and Rebels that have night sisters in them too.
Yes. Although Morgan Elsbeth was a new character created for The Mandalorian. So
Gotcha.
The Ahsoka episode of The Mandalorian.
Yeah. And she was in that episode that had Michael Biehn in it, right?
Yeah, that was the one. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Okay. Well, so I had that great transition, but I told you started talking about something else anyway. But transition was characters from new canon that have the roles of characters from Legends or like the expanded universe. And the character that I'm talking about is this guy named Senator Xenon, right?
Yes, I know what you're talking about. Yes.
Xiono, Senator Xiono, who was hanging out with one of our friends from our favorite Star Wars show, Mon Mothma.
Yes.
We see a hologram of him, a projection, and Xiono's basically taken the role of Borsk Fela, who is featured a lot in the expanded universe canon. Did you ever read anything or see him in anything that you read?
I've read very little of expanded universe stuff, and I have not seen the character before.
Yeah, it's funny because they introduce probably hundreds of characters, if not more, in the expanded universe. And I remember reading about quite a few of them, and a lot of them you kind of just see their names like, oh, that's a funny name. And it's hard to kind of like connect their names to faces or remember like, which one is that? Are they from this squadron? Are they this kind of Jedi? But Borsk Fela was this character that just always stood out. Like, you remember that line from Return of the Jedi when Mon Mothma, of all people, is like, many Bothans died to get us this information.
Yes.
Right? Did you ever wonder, like, what the fuck is a Bothan?
Yes.
Yes, yeah. So like, Timothy Zahn, who created Grand Admiral Thrawn and did the Heir to the Empire trilogy, he established what Bothans were, and they're sort of this, like, cat-like alien race. And Borsk Fela is a representative from their homeworld. And he's on the Senate in the New Republic. And he serves as a foil for Princess Leia and like the fledgling New Republic. He's like always kind of undermining her plans and always being like, why do we have to spend money on this? Why do we have to do this? And he doesn't want the Jedi to come back into power. And it seems like in the new canon, Xiono is taking that role.
Yes, he definitely wants to throw a wrench into Hera's intentions to go help Ahsoka, prevent Thrawn from coming back. And he's got a great argument too, about saying like, haven't you been looking for Ezra this entire time? Like she's trying to misappropriate Republic funds and manpower to go on a fool's errand, essentially.
It's interesting, right? Because she sort of has this role that's very similar to Princess Leia's role in The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Do you think that if Carrie Fisher was still alive, they would have maybe had her and like had her like de-aged in this show?
No, I think this show is like a Rebels reunion. They haven't. It would be. It's still. They would have to de-age her like way too much, I think, because this is like right after, sort of, right?
It's like it's in the time of the Mandalorian, which is 5 years after Jedi.
Yeah, it's like that's pretty close to me. So because the last time we see Princess Leia is the sequel trilogy, which is like 20 or 30 years later.
Yeah, I think Force Awakens is like 30 years after Jedi.
Yeah, so I think they would have to be. I mean, they're showing us Luke. Why couldn't they show us Leia? I don't know. Yeah, maybe. But no, I still think that this works better as a Rebels reunion because you have, although the way I thought you were going to go was I thought you were going to mention Jason Sindela, whose first name is synonymous with is the same as
Jason Solo.
Jason Solo from the expanded universe.
Yeah.
And he clearly is, interested in Jedi and wanting to be a Jedi. And Jason was, one of the twins of Han and Leia, and he kind of flirts with the dark side quite a bit. So, I that's what I thought you were going by. You said, someone filling a role of an expanded universe character.
Oh yeah, he doesn't just flirt with the dark side, man. He like takes it out to dinner and like gets in bed with it, man.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Like I said, I had not read that much expanded universe. So.
Yeah. So, who the hell is this kid though? Like, he shows up. He's got like green hair, and he's calling Hera mother, but I don't think he's like a.
He's supposed to be the child of Hera and Kanan.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You know what? I don't know if he's like an adopted kid. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I think I'm like, but it's okay. So, maybe it's like a thing where the aliens can mate with whoever, and the offspring take whatever form of like the other side, the father or whatever, which is something to me is I went there with that because of Mass Effect. Actually, there's this race called the Asari. It's an all female race, and they can mate with anybody, and then their offspring. Oh wait, no, the offspring are always Asari though. I don't know.
I'm sorry we went down this road. Well, okay, so you're implying that this kid is like the physical son of like
no. Well, that's what I read it as that he is that's his parents essentially. I don't. I know he did appear in some capacity in Rebels towards like in an epilogue format.
Okay.
I don't know if he's biological or not, or just kind of like some adopted person, but that's what I read.
Dude, let's just go watch 28 episodes of Disney Plus shows, and by next week we'll be good. We'll know the answers to all this.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know why they. I mean, I guess it's just sort of fan service to show him up. Maybe they're setting him up to be something during the sequel trilogy era. Like you did bring up a good point where it's like he's talking about the Jedi and stuff, and he's excited. I don't know. Maybe they just want to bring him up to just be like, oh yeah, by the way, Hera has a kid.
Yeah, it's possible.
If Kanan is his dad, then he could be kind of force sensitive too.
Yeah.
So, just that was just like this quick little aside. But I have to say though that if we're still talking about Xiono and that scene that like connects to the scene we were just describing, I complained about the characters being real emotionless or stoic, or like the line delivery itself feeling sort of like flat. And I thought that Mary Elizabeth Winstead in this scene, I thought she was really good because she essentially had to be emotional. She had to be like, hey, look, you're telling me that this isn't important. You're kind of telling me that like what I care about or what I'm worried about doesn't matter. I've lost friends. Grand Admiral Thrawn like led to the death or killed off some of my friends. This is important to me. She had to like defend her life essentially. Yeah. So I thought that was the best scene with Hera so far.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. I still kind of feel like that's going on in the show. It's still kind of flat. Like the scene in the very beginning. So I don't think I said this yet, but I actually liked this episode way better than the first two episodes. And I like the scene with Sabine and Ahsoka in the very beginning where Ahsoka's training her. It just reminds me of so many scenes we've seen in Star Wars where there's like a character that doesn't know how to tap into the Force. They have to like blind themselves in some way. It's very much like Luke on the Millennium Falcon and A New Hope. And it brings up this point that was kind of controversial. Did you see any of this on Twitter or X or whatever the fuck we call it these days?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, the idea, like some people were complaining that like not everyone can access the Force. There's a line in this episode where Ahsoka says that everyone has the Force. That's what she says. Yes. And some people disagree with that. What do you think?
I think what she was implying is that the Force is kind of around everyone, and some people have a connection with it that is kind of like two-way, like multiple ways. But the Force is just within everything, I guess.
Right. It's within all living things, and I know that George Lucas, I think I said multiple times that everyone can use the Force. It's just sort of like everyone can meditate, or do yoga. It's just you have to sort of train yourself to be able to do it.
Yeah, I did see someone mention to the effect of like, this would have been a viable time to use midichlorians. You know.
Well, of course I know that. It was me.
Oh, it was you. Okay.
Yes. There you go.
I read so much stuff before this, and I can't remember where I read it.
Yeah. It's weird because like the midichlorians are like the sort of like the the hidden redheaded stepchild of Star Wars.
Yeah, and I agree with that because I thought like when I first heard it, I'm like, no, I want this to be mystical. I don't want this to be science based. It kind of put a little bit of a damper on the idea of Jedi and the Force and all that. But this is a better way of doing it, I think. They're saying it's in everybody, it's around everything, but only some people can use it or affect it.
Yeah, I like thinking of it like that. It's like some people are just naturally good at swimming, and some people are naturally good singers, right? But anyone can sing, anyone can swim. There are people that are sort of more inclined. It's just you have to work harder to be able to do it. And what's cool is that Sabine acknowledges that she can use a lightsaber, but then she essentially can't do anything else with the Force.
Yeah, but I noticed one of the things I noticed and I liked about this episode is that they made that whole statement there, and then in the battle towards the end, Ahsoka's like, you know what, I need to trust her instincts with this, and I think she probably was subconsciously channeling the Force in some manner, which is kind of directing Ahsoka how to fly the ship so she can use the guns properly.
Oh yeah,
so I think that's probably her in there.
Yeah. Well, that brings up another thing that I thought was actually really exciting was the idea that Sabine is a Mandalorian, and they're these warriors, and obviously, like fighting and battle is such a big part of their culture, and so like her accessing the Force through using a weapon like a lightsaber, or like you just said, like using the guns and stuff, like that's kind of like her Mandalorian way of accessing the Force.
Yeah, that's a way better way of thinking about it. Yeah.
I mentioned this in our notes. It's kind of interesting. Like they're really setting it up with like the Disney stuff with the new Star Wars lore. That essentially there's like 3 different main factions, right? There's the Jedi, the Sith, and then the Mandalorians they're not as powerful as the Sith or the Jedi, but they're this sort of like massive warrior force. And it's kind of interesting that like Palpatine wipes out the other 2 factions so that the Sith can be in charge.
Yeah.
And like, I guess you could say that like stormtroopers and clone troopers are like another faction, but they never existed until Palpatine created them.
Yeah.
So I love shit like that. That gets my like Star Wars boner all hard. Yeah, that's weird. I said that in my mom's apartment where I'm recording this. But yeah. So you know what? We didn't talk about David Tennant at all.
Yeah, I didn't even realize it was David Tennant until this episode.
Oh, holy shit! Really?
Yeah.
Do you ever watch any Doctor Who?
I try. There was a time when like that was like what everyone was talking about, and
right.
I started watching the season with Christopher Eccleston.
Yes,
and I had a hard time with it.
Oh, okay.
And I should have just pushed through. And I've seen a couple random episodes here and there. I've probably seen like 2 or 3 David Tennant episodes. I couldn't tell you which ones they were, and maybe like one Matt Smith one. But I something I always wanted to get into, and I just never did. And at this point, it's like there's so many, and it's just a little daunting. And
yeah, I think a lot of people consider David Tennant to be like the best of the new Doctors. A lot of people are big fans of him. I think he was great. It's kind of hard to choose between him and Matt Smith. I think I might lean more towards Matt Smith. I like Matt Smith as an actor a lot too. Like I thought he was great in House of the Dragon.
It's fantastic.
Right. But I love David Tennant's voice in general. I thought he was really good in Jessica Jones, right?
Yes. Oh my God, the Purple Man. Yes.
Yeah. So it's cool that he's this droid, and I'm assuming that this droid plays a big role in Rebels.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like this. He was an android that trained Jedis.
Yeah.
And one of the first. So.
Yeah, and I like that he was pretty rough on Sabine when he was practicing with her with the sticks.
Yeah.
He's like, "You suck. This sucks."
He never should have been Jedi. You're like the worst student I've ever had.
Right. Yeah.
And it's not even like, it's just like a matter of fact too. It's not, this is like no negativity. It's like, you kind of suck.
Yeah. But it's great to have that kind of level of talent just as like a voice actor on this show.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's kind of sad, but I was talking about how like a lot of the characters are flat in their delivery and stuff. As a droid, I don't think that he's flat at all.
No, I think he's shown a lot of depth and energy in how he's speaking.
Yeah. So let's bring up one other controversial point. So I've already kind of referenced a few things that they've talked about on Eckhart's Ladder, that the guy on Eckhart's Ladder has talked about. But he did also mention that some people were mad that Hera said that Grand Admiral Thrawn was the last of the Grand Admirals, because there's this character called Grand Admiral Sloane, and she's from a lot of the new canon. Have you ever seen anything with her in it?
I don't think so.
Okay. So basically, like right before The Force Awakens, they had a trilogy called the Aftermath Trilogy. It was written by Chuck Wendig. It was a series of books, and it showed her rise to power in the Empire as the Empire was falling, basically, right? Did you ever play that game that is like where you're like stormtroopers and shit as the Empire falls? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Republic Commando? No.
No. There's this game where you're like black armored stormtroopers. It's called like
Dark Forces.
I don't know what the fuck it is. It's not the virtual reality flying game. It's right before that. Fuck.
Maybe.
they made a book series. Hold on. I'm gonna look it up while I'm like rambling. But it's like basically the Emperor has this thing called Operation Cinder or Project Cinder, where it's called Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Oh, it's Battlefront? Okay.
Yeah. And it follows like this female like protagonist as they have Operation Cinder. Have you ever heard of Operation Cinder?
Yeah, I did play some of that game. I didn't finish the story mode in it. That's the one. It's I forget the character's name, but it's Janina Gravinkar or whatever.
Right. So she's like a female stormtrooper, right? That has like the black armor.
I think she's more of an officer, but maybe she does have armor. Maybe I didn't get that far.
Okay. So like the idea is that like Palpatine essentially wants to like destroy parts of the Empire after he's dead. It's like he's dead, and so he wants the Empire to kind of destroy itself. It's like, I guess if I can't have the Empire, no one will. And there's Imperials that fight against that to try to preserve the Empire. And one of them is this Sloane character. She's in all these Aftermath books. I think she's maybe in that video game. She might even be in the pilot one that I think you have and I have. Squadrons, yes. I think she might be in that.
I didn't finish.
But what ends up happening with her that's interesting to me is that she takes a big chunk of like the Imperial fleet and the Empire's forces and goes into the unknown regions, and essentially like she starts to set up the First Order.
Okay, interesting.
So this Grand Admiral Sloane is kind of like a bridge between the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy.
Okay.
Yeah. And all this shit, I just kind of eat it up. And I'm sorry for talking so much, but it's like, I just like how there's sort of like the Legends version of what happens to the Empire, and then there's the new canon version.
Yeah. And I'm looking it up. He is in the game, so
yeah,
the Squadrons game, and maybe Battlefront 2.
Yeah. So people were like upset because like Hera was like, Thrawn's the last of the Grand Admirals, but it's like one of those things where I understand that she wouldn't reference this one character because she's like kind of off the board essentially. She's like,
yeah. And the other thing too, this is a very common thing, is that when you have these universes like this, a lot of the times games are just not canon. So I know you referenced that she's also in books as well, which is a little more strange to me. But a lot of times people just make with licensed games, they all end up not being canon because you have to follow too particular path, and you know too much, and it kind of limits what you can do.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if that wasn't actually what happened.
Yeah. I like all the expanded universe stuff, and I'm even digging this sort of ancillary things here. What's cool is that they get a lot of cool, talented people to work on the comics and the books. Like Charles Soule is like a good example, right? But I wanted to do a little shout out to our friend Jonathan Edwards too, because he commented on our last video, and he was saying that he was a fan of Rebels and of the Clone Wars, but he's not really a fan of the show. Did you see that comment?
I did not actually.
Yeah, he basically had a similar complaint to mine. He said that it feels kind of like slow, or that it feels dull. And I'd have to agree with him. I think that this episode though was sort of more exciting than the previous two.
Yeah, I mean, half the episode is a starship battle, so space battle.
Yeah. But like even with the pacing, it's funny. Like Dave Filoni didn't direct this one. This other guy, Steph Green, I think Steph Green is the guy that directed it. He directed the last one too. The last shot is like they crash on this planet after they've fought against the forces or whatever of the Scion or whatever the fuck it's called, and the guy that Ray Stevenson is playing, he's like, go hunt them down. And the camera just like lingers on him for like too long. Right? Did you think it was awkward?
Yeah, it was a little awkward, and that's exactly where it ends too. So it felt a little weird. Like it's almost like this should have been part of the episode.
Right.
Whatever's gonna happen next should have been part of this episode, which was fairly short.
Yeah. So I mean, it still feels like a little awkward, and it feels a little bit like the prequels with all the green screen shit.
Yeah, I mean, didn't we say this something about this with like Obi-Wan, that we felt because Obi-Wan was supposed to be a movie originally, right?
Yes.
And then they it felt like you could tell where they like added scenes to pad it out to make a TV show out of it. One of this maybe came to life as a movie, and then they added things to it. And this is one of those points where it would have continued as the movie,
I think you got a really good point there. Yeah. I mean, we'll see. There's 8 episodes total, right? We've gone through 3 so far.
Yep.
So I have a feeling that we're going to be like exploring this new galaxy now, and that might kind of add to it.
Yeah. And yeah, that'll be exciting. And we know that Thrawn shows up. I hope. I mean, I don't know what the end game is. I know that the idea is to have some kind of unified movie to wrap all this up, all these TV shows up. But I'm curious as to what level of what level Thrawn will be in this show. Like he has to show up. There's no way he won't show up. But is he going to be in a couple episodes? Is he going to be in like the last scene of the last episode, or
yeah? I think that he'll be maybe in like the last 2 or so. Like, do you remember? I think that we should reference Willow, right? Because no one seems to be talking about Willow. We had to watch all those episodes. And do you remember how there's like the crone, and you don't know who the crone is until like the second to last episode?
Yeah.
I think it's going to be something like that. Not that we don't know who he is, because he's this blue guy wearing a white uniform. But I feel like he'll like really show up and be a pain in the ass for the last 2 episodes.
Yeah. Okay. I guess that's enough. Yeah. But at the same time, though, like because they can't defeat him.
No, here. Exactly.
He's got to be available to be used for this wrap up movie.
I think that this is my prediction here. Some fantasy booking that his forces are going to go to the Star Wars galaxy by the end of this show.
Okay. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And so I don't know how much more, like how many more seasons of Ahsoka, or like how many more seasons of The Mandalorian there'll be before they would make a movie. I mean, who knows what the fuck is going on with anything because of the writer's strike.
Yeah, that's going to prolong everything. Yeah.
Yeah, everything's just getting pushed off.
Didn't they even shut down Andor too, finally?
Oh,
even though it was completely written.
Oh, that blows. Well, because of the Actors Guild strike, right?
Probably, yeah. But that's a good thing, because like as much as they said that, oh, it was completely written, blah blah blah. I always imagine it's better to have someone on hand to be able to correct things as you're doing it. Because sometimes, you just come across things you don't think of while you're filming something, because when you're writing and thinking it out, like, oh, it all works. But when you're actually practically doing it, there are things that you just see that you wouldn't have seen just thinking about it, plotting it.
Absolutely. Yes. Like, especially with a show like Andor, you really need someone like making sure it's nice and tight. And
yes, and this is one of the reasons why one of the shows that didn't shut down. Actually, I don't know if it did, but when the writers were on strike, they did not shut down House of the Dragon season 2, because they said that was all completely buttoned up and everything like that. I'm very scared about that, because I really liked that first season. Like, I was really like disconnected from Game of Thrones, from And I didn't even hate the end that last season that much, like for the reasons that most people did. But it was a little disappointment because it was very rushed, and I'm still just so angry that it's taken so long for the not even last book to come out.
Yeah.
And that kind of reignited that whole franchise to me because that show was so good.
Fuck yeah, I feel the exact same way, and a lot of it has to do with Matt Smith, but just in general, so much of it had to do with the way that whole world works and just how brutal and mean everything is, and so good, so good. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen because of the strike, and like how much is going to get put off, and when this strike is going to end? I mean, it's like 100 and something days at this point, right?
Yeah, it seems like it's going to go on for a long haul, unfortunately, and we're not going to see the effects of it for a while because there's still plenty of stuff that's in the can coming out. We've talked about all the things we're going to cover by the end of the year. Gen V on Amazon, the next season of The Boys, which that might not have finished filming, so
shit,
that could be even delayed. But we have Invincible. We still haven't gotten the second half of Doom Patrol.
Oh yeah.
There's lots of stuff that's still to come, and then maybe it'll be like January, February, March, where it's like, oh shit, there's nothing coming out anymore.
What the fuck are we going to talk about?
I don't know.
Oh God,
reviews.
Yes, nice. Yeah, well, we can cover comics, man. I'm down.
Yeah,
cool.
I'll be happy to cover that new Transformers comic when it comes out next month.
Yes, October. Yes. I am very excited about that. I would be down for just covering that, like the week it comes out, we just cover that issue.
Yep.
Cool, man. Do you have anything else that you want to say about Ahsoka?
No, I think I'm good.
All right, cool. I'm good as well. We did Ahsoka episode 3. If you guys have not subscribed, please do. We see our subscriber count going up. We love your comments. We will be back, though, next Thursday to talk about Ahsoka episode 4, and we got more stuff down the pipeline.